introduction. And so again, thank you for sticking with us through this delay. Anyway, most of you now, I think, have seen our emails. You know a little about David. What you may or may not know is that in the last couple of weeks, he's got an extraordinary amount of publicity, and he's done it very deliberately in a new field that he's decided to go into, which is parenting. And David's never done anything in the parenting space before. He's always been training entrepreneurs. But he has a new book coming out in January, and so he's decided to start from scratch in a field where he's got no reputation and no previous track record, and just show that it's possible to get a lot of publicity, to build yourself as an expert and an icon in that space very, very quickly. So this is something that David does regularly for his clients, and from time to time he does it also for himself. David will talk more about that in a minute. But just in the last couple of weeks, with his trip to Australia in the middle of it all, he's been on, I think I lost count, David, at 5 or 6 TV shows, been featured in the Washington Post, on Yahoo, been featured in the Daily Mail in the UK. That's when a story goes viral, you know that a media in another country picks it up and runs it without even doing an interview, which is impressive. So that's a remarkable result. And so David today is going to explain to us the particular formula and process that he goes through to get publicity, and explain how anyone here with a business of their own can do the same. You can get yourself into the media, you can promote your business, you can attract new clients that way. You just have to know a few specific steps and go forward from there, which David's going to teach us today. Is that a fair summary of what's coming up, David?
Yeah, that's a good explanation, Ken. I think I would just add to that I've been in the media for all kinds of things, but I think that some people have kind of shrugged that off, and what they do, Ken, is they say, well, yeah, but what about me? David, you were the former CEO of Guerrilla Marketing. You've written these books before, you've worked with these celebrity clients before, and they feel like it's not really a fair comparison. And so, I'm trying to show them clients that have kind of gone from zero to hero. But one of the things that makes this latest media blitz so interesting about me, Ken, is, like you said, this is an area where I really haven't done it before. And so although it's an area that's passionate to me, it's not really my main business, but it's an area that's passionate to me. And so what I did in this kind of experiment is, I showed people that, here I have no real experience in it. I don't have a background in it. This isn't something I've written a bunch of other books in for. I don't have a bunch of, major, contacts in this specific industry. And so, it was, although I've gotten media in all kinds of things over the last, several years, this is a new area. So, I just guess I wanted to kind of frame that and explain that. And it's kind of tricky, Ken. If I don't get any media, then my clients wonder if I know how to do it. But if I get too much media, then they kind of start to wonder, hey, are you too busy working on your own press to work on mine? So it's a tricky balance, Ken. I need to get just enough media, but not too much media. So it's funny. Sometimes we're actually trying to get more media for our clients. Other times, we need to get some media for ourselves just to show people that we know how to do it. But yes, thank you for that introduction.
Cool, great. I'm really looking forward to this. Media is something that I've never done myself, as we were talking about last week. But I've seen other people get media and get a high profile and grow their businesses phenomenally quickly through this strategy. So I'm excited to hear what you've got to say.
Great. Yeah, a lot of people know that I've wrote a book called Cracking the Icon Code, and that my company is Icon Builder Media, and what we do is we make people icons in their industry. And there are some formulas for doing that. Having certain kind of websites can really help, but we're not going to talk about that tonight. Writing books, being a published author can really help, but we're not going to talk about that tonight. Having testimonials and celebrity endorsements and winning awards. There's all kinds of things that you want to do to position yourself as an icon in your industry, to kind of give yourself an unfair advantage over the competition by really being able to answer, why you? One of the biggest things that you can also do is being featured in the media in a very strategic way. And so that is what we're going to talk about tonight. And there really is an art to making your presence felt. It's something I say all the time. Are you making your presence felt? Do you intrigue? Do you fascinate? Do you stand out? Are you easily remembered? Or are you easily forgettable? And so, of course, we want to show people how to do that, and that's really what the press has a lot to do with, is being seen in a certain light. So my favorite definition of success is really when preparation meets opportunity, and you really got to prepare before pursuing. And I love this quote by Abraham Lincoln: "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." That's really what PR, publicity is really all about. More than anything else, it's about preparation. Because what you'll find is when the opportunities come to get into the news, interviewed, featured, magazines, radio, TV, there's generally a pretty small window of time. And typically a story breaks, an idea comes out, and you've got to be able to jump on it. And there's certain things that they want to see that will drastically put the odds in your favor. So just know that preparation is just a huge thing in life. I think we all know that, but here's what a lot of people don't know: it's paramount when it comes to PR and publicity. And so we really get people thinking about visibility, because visibility equals credibility. And I'm not saying it should be that way, okay? I'm with a lot of other people out there that just because you're visible doesn't mean that you really are credible. At least it shouldn't be that way. But you know what? In most people's eyes, that is the case. They see people day in and day out on TV, and those people become credible in certain ways. Now take reality TV, for example. And I know that we kind of all laugh at it a little bit, but there's a reason why it's done well. There's a reason why it has launched so many careers, and it's because visibility equals credibility. Take somebody that's probably very famous, world-renowned, someone like a Kim Kardashian. I think it's pretty obvious, that she's not making a whole lot of major accomplishments in life. But she is intriguing, and she is fascinating, and maybe sometimes it's like watching a train wreck, but she has developed credibility in certain fields. And so she's been able to leverage major sponsorships and opportunities and advertisers, and dare I say, she's become influential. Now, I cannot say this enough. I'm not saying it should be this way. I'm just saying it is this way. It used to be, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, you'd have to invent something, you'd have to cure something. Okay, you're going to win the Nobel Peace Prize, and then maybe you're on the cover of Time magazine. Well, that's not the way it's been for the last 10 or 20 years. Nowadays, if you're just visible, okay, that is going to turn into a certain amount of credibility. So the question is, how do you become visible? How do you get, exposure? Okay, because exposure equals expert. When people want your opinion in the news, you become an expert. Okay, and there's a lot of ways to do that, but this is where a lot of people kind of mess up, because they think of PR and publicity as free advertising. It's a commercial for them. And maybe it kind of indirectly is, but it's not meant to be this way, okay? They're looking for things that are newsworthy. And how you keep getting into the press over and over and over again is by being interviewed as a guest expert on relevant, newsworthy subjects. Okay, so we're going to talk about that a little bit more later on. But you really got to have a media kit. And this is a big part of the preparation. Having pictures, having bios, having videos, having awards, testimonials, endorsements, books, magazines. All of these things will help position you as an icon in your industry, as an expert in your industry. And that's really just what we're doing here, is we're playing the odds. Not everything's going to work every time for every person in every place. So what do? We play the odds. We leverage best practices. So I'm going to show you, what we've done for a lot of clients, what I've even done, for myself, to make things go really easy and really fast. You want to have multiple bios, and some people will look at this and they go, "Oh my goodness, David, this is so simple. I've got a bio." Well, yeah, but there's different kinds of bios. How long is it? What's included in it? Do you have your titles in it? Do you have things you've gotten results in it? Do you have things that are about your personal life? Again, awards are huge. Other media you've been in. Do you do things internationally? Are you published? Do you have a certain kind of education? And then there's also stuff that you can do where they're just major milestones in your life. This is something about Abraham Lincoln here and about his life. It's really quite fascinating. In 1831, fails in business. 1832, defeated for state legislator. 1833, again failed in business. 34, finally elected to legislature. 1835, sweetheart dies. Terrible. 1836, suffers a nervous breakdown. 1838, defeated for speaker. 1840, defeated for elector. 1843, defeated for Congress. 1846, okay, 10 years after he suffered a nervous breakdown, 12 years after he was last elected, he actually gets elected to Congress again. But only 2 years later, he gets defeated for Congress. 7 years later, he's defeated again. Another year later, he's defeated for vice presidency. Another couple of years later, he's defeated for Senate. Abe, people don't like you. But the guy keeps going. 2 years later, he's elected the president of the United States and becomes, one of the most well-known and influential men in the least United States of America, if not in other places too, having quite an effect. So anyways, I show you this just because in a very brief way, you see something personal about this guy. You see something about his business life. You see things that become emotional triggers. You don't even have the whole story, but you have enough to know that he succeeded in the end. He failed more than he succeeded, but he succeeded in the end. This tells a story, and you can learn a lot from this. What can you show in your life that demonstrates something that separates you from everybody else, and that really positions you in a way that really has kind of a message for the world. So this is kind of abstract, but I want to get you thinking outside the box about different ways to show things about yourself. This is a bio for me. This is one of the bios that I use. It's not updated. It's probably 30 to 45 days old. I typically update my bio about every 3 to 6 weeks, and it just depends on what's going on. So don't worry so much about me, but just notice kind of some structure in here. David Fagan is best known as a, what are you best known as? Okay. I have a such and such company. What kind of company do you have? I'm based out of. Now, some of these things, if I was based out of, a really small town in the middle of nowhere, I wouldn't say that. But Beverly Hills is an emotional trigger, so that goes in there. I was a former CEO of a very big company. What have you been the former title of something? Maybe that fits there. Numbers are important. Between me and J. Conrad Levinson, we've sold over 23 million books in 62 languages all over the world. I bought a very famous PR company. That PR company represented 58 Academy Award winners, 34 Grammy winners, 40. But focus on the numbers. How much have you sold of something? How many people have you helped? How many people have you served? Is there a number of celebrities or known organization? Is there a number that represents results that you have? What I'm doing now, I own this company. I'm a guest lecturer at UCLA. So that's a very prominent university here in California. I've recently been featured in all this media. Since then, I've been featured in a bunch of other media, but I'm pulling out the best media. I'm a former Boy Scout. I'm currently resides in Laguna Niguel, California. My wife and 8 children. Now, this bio is just one of maybe 5 or 6 bios. I might use this bio for when I'm speaking at really big keynote kind of events, because this has a really well-rounded feel to it. But there's other times where it's very business heavy, so I'm going to focus more on business things. There's other times where it's more personal heavy, so I might focus more on my family and my kids and some of their accomplishments. But notice it's very short. It's typically easy to read. There's a picture with it. It can be skimmed really easily. This is a good bio, and I'm using myself as an example, but focus on the structure of it. Okay, there's a lot of structure here. Let's talk about some other ways that you can do visual aids and provide emotional triggers. One is having a timeline image. So I just took a brief timeline of the last year. In January, I sold a company that was very well known. I kind of did one of my kind of dreams here, Ken, was to have a sailboat. I purchased my sailboat that I do a lot of writing on, working on, meet with clients on. I did some consulting for a very big organization, the Boy Scouts of America, doing PR and marketing for them. Bloomberg, and I was a guest on some shows, and Forbes, and awards, and there's shared the stage with the former Secretary of Defense, Dr. Bob Gates. He's the only Secretary of Defense to ever serve with both a Republican and Democratic president. And so, I got to speak with him, Fox News, you get the idea, more awards, and thanks to you, Ken, I got to go to Australia and do a 3-city tour there. So, and just a really brief diagram, really brief timeline image here, you kind of just get a snapshot. This image could take place over 3 years, 10 years. This image could take place just over the last 30 days. However you want to picture it. But hopefully you're seeing how you could put this out on social media, you could put this on your website, you could do this with a press release, and it becomes an emotional trigger of a way to share, again, your life, your accomplishments, things that you've done. So think about that. This is really important for PR and for press. And it's a lot of things that people don't think about. These are things that we do for our clients, we do for ourselves. Another one is a top 10 list. So a top 10 list, might be something like the top 10 reasons why people listen to J. Conrad Levinson. So J. Conrad Levinson was the father of guerrilla marketing, one of my mentors. I remember doing that for him 4 or 5 years ago, creating that list. I did it for another client named Harry Dent. And I remember thinking about myself and going, well, I should do this for myself. The first time I did this, Ken, guess how many things I could come up with? I wanted to come up with 10. Guess how many I could come up with?
Well, I know the answer to this because I've heard you say it before.
Okay, 4, yeah. So the point is, and by the way, that's never cheating, Ken. That just means you're listening to me. I like that. I'm glad you know the answer. Yeah, I mean, the first time I did this for myself, I could only come up with 4 good reasons why people listen to David Fagan. Then pretty soon I had 5 or 6. Then pretty soon I had 10. Now I have more than 10, and I'm dropping things out and adding in something if it's better. But this is another great way to get people's attention. And I hope you're kind of noticing a pattern in what I'm saying here. Getting people's attention, right? We want to make our presence felt. We make our presence felt when we get people's attention. The secret to great copy, step 1, get their attention. The secret to a great video, step 1, get their attention. Secret to a great speaker, step 1, get their attention. Secret to a great media pitch, step 1, get their attention. You got to get their attention. So infographics can get their attention, workflow charts can get their attention, memes can get their attention. Hopefully we'll have more time later to go into that. But I'm going to move this thing along here. Let's start thinking about, does the media even want to interview you? Do they even want to interview? Well, let me tell you if they do. This is called a Venn diagram, all right? Any one of these circles are reasons why you might get to be interviewed on the media. If you and your topics are newsworthy, that'd be good. That might be a reason. If you're fascinating, if you're really fascinating, that might be good. Maybe you have an expert status, that might be good. But when you have all 3, that's the sweet spot. That's really where you're guaranteed to be on TV. And that's what we help people do. We help people understand this and be prepared for this. Because you could be newsworthy, right? And your topics could be newsworthy, and you could be very fascinating. But you might not be ready if you're just those 2 things, meaning you don't have an expert status. You could be newsworthy, your topic's newsworthy, and you could have an expert status. But if you just have those 2, you might just be boring, right? And the media, they don't like boring people, right? You could be fascinating and you could have an expert status, but then it's not really news. And I see people run into that problem all the time, all the time. They basically are trying to do a commercial for their business, and that's not what good publicity is all about. That's not what publicity is about at all. If you want advertising, buy an ad, buy a Facebook ad, buy a commercial, buy a billboard. But publicity is not about doing an ad. Publicity is about finding an angle that positions you as an expert and icon in your industry. And by doing that, you are going to create lead opportunities and you're going to create better conversion opportunities. Because what you have to realize is you're always answering the question, why you? Why am I going to hire you? We work with some celebrities, some people that I would call talent, but we work more with people in the advice business, okay? Speakers, authors, coaches, trainers, doctors, attorneys, accountants, architects, real estate agents, real estate professionals, bankers. And what these people have to do is they have to answer the question, why you, right? People are coming to these experts saying, all right, why you? They even come to me, David, why you? I love it when people ask why me. Well, it's because I've written all these books, I've won all these awards, I have all these testimonials. Look at all these endorsements I have, and look at the numbers. Look at what I've accomplished nationally, internationally. But even more importantly, look at how many times I've been on the media. Look at how many times people have come to me for my expert opinions. Okay, that means I must be fascinating. I must be a strong communicator. I must have an expert status. I must understand the news. I must be a trusted source. I must be a trusted authority or trusted expert. But these things are really important, to understand. Some people, they're just never going to be very fascinating, and that can be a tough one. Some people, they're just not willing to pay the price to kind of earn more of an expert status. Some people just don't understand how the news works, and so hopefully I can help you with some of those things. But this is the one that I think is the toughest. And Ken, let me involve you in this a little bit, because I was just thinking the other day about all these speakers you've represented and all these successful people you've put on stages and brought into Australia. Where do you think most of these people, fall short? I came into Australia, and I always like to take up the challenge and show people, all right, I'll get press in your area. You gave me that press. We kind of got the team together, and within a couple hours the following day, we got booked for the Today Show in Sydney, Australia. I don't think most of the people that you've brought out there could probably do that. Why do you think some people fall short? Where do you think that they're falling short the most? Is it them not understanding the news? Is it them maybe not being fascinated enough? Is it not having the expert status? Do you see one thing more than another?
There's a couple of different things. We've actually had some speakers who didn't want publicity at all. They actually ran a mile from the very idea. So that makes it hard, as you can imagine. But outside of that, yeah, I'd say generally you'd just say they weren't prepared. They didn't have a message that was prepared that they can talk on that would be interesting to the media. They didn't have their credentials and their bio together. We've got media for some of them, but it was always a lot of effort. We'd have to coach them and prepare them and get them set up.
Yeah, you brought up the interesting point that I wanted to cover. I tricked you into setting me up. Thank you, Ken. No, you brought up something very interesting. Some people don't want media. They don't want press. Well, why is that? A lot of times they don't understand it. A lot of times they're scared. They don't want a target on their back. You do kind of get a little bit more of a target on your back. You got to know your stuff. You got to know what you're talking about. So I always find it a little interesting. I mean, there are some people that honestly, they just don't want to be in front of everybody, and that's fine. I would put my wife in that category. Very great speaker, very good communicator, very intelligent woman, runs her own publishing company. But she doesn't thrive on the idea of being in front of people, so that's fine. But there's a lot of people, they want to speak on stages and they want to be out there, but they're a little shy of media, and that's kind of a warning sign to me sometimes. Like, are you not the real deal? Can you not make complex things simple? See, that's an important part of being in the media. Do you have the ability to make complex things simple? Are you not a good communicator? Do we have some skeletons in your closet, right? Some of this stuff can kind of come out. But a lot of people misunderstand media and don't know why they should want it and why they shouldn't want it and really how to benefit from it. But being in the media can be hugely powerful. Let's talk a little bit more about newsworthy topics. If you're looking for newsworthy topics and you want to tie yourself to those angles, look at what's trending. Okay, you can go and check out Google Trends in Australia. You can check out Twitter trends in Australia. You can check them out locally. You can check them out nationally. You can check them out internationally. But it'll tell you what storylines are trending right now. And you can start to see some that are just gaining momentum. They might be number 10. Then all of a sudden they might be number 8. And they might be number 5. Well, if you go and create a video on that topic and put it up, you might get found for that topic. If you write an article about that topic and put it out, if you create a press release about that topic and put it out, all of these things will tie you to these newsworthy events. If you can have an intelligent opinion that you can back up with real facts, real ideas, real passion and conviction, you're going to put yourself in the path of the oncoming traffic of the media. That's what you want. When you're in real estate, you're kind of saying, hey, where's the path of growth, right? Where's the next community going to be, right? I want to go out there and I want to get that land early. Well, that's the way it is when it comes to breaking news. When you see stories develop, if you can form opinions and put out content around those opinions, when new people are Googling it and searching it, a lot of times they're going to run into what you have. Okay, so very, very important. Now, it's also important too, because if you want to pitch the media, you want to go there based on the angles that they have, and it doesn't have to be exact. About a year ago, Yahoo bought Tumblr. Okay, big internet giant Yahoo buys Tumblr, billion-dollar company buys multi-million-dollar company, and a lot of people were really hard on the CEO, and so I'm always looking at the most controversial version of whatever my beliefs are. Okay, so think about this. What are your beliefs, right? Then think about what's the most controversial version of your beliefs. So in this case, a lot of people were being very hard on the CEO, the woman who decides to buy Tumblr, and so I came out very quickly with why they had to buy Tumblr. I mean, they were forced to buy Tumblr. They needed to stay relevant. All these other companies are merging. Google's buying all these things, and Facebook's buying all these things, and they needed to get bigger and they needed to get better. So I put something together fascinating on that. We pitched it to Forbes. They love it. They ran the article. Now you might be saying, well, David, you're a marketing and promoting guy. You're an internet marketing and promoting guy, online, offline. Why in the world do you want to have an article in Forbes about Yahoo buying Tumblr? How does that really help you? Well, as I just said that to you, it probably became crystal clear. But first of all, I'm in Forbes. Second of all, they picked me to be the expert on such important issues. Third, I'm talking business. I'm talking marketing. I'm talking decision making. I don't even have to talk about my business. Just the fact that I'm in there, how does that position? Ken, how do you think people might see me if they see me in Forbes talking about those subjects?
Well, it's there's an immediate assumed credibility from that, because obviously a prestigious magazine like Forbes is only going to have serious experts in their pages.
Yeah, people are Googling me. People are going to my website. People are sharing the article. People are wondering why they don't know me. Who is this David guy? I thought I should know this guy. They're commenting on him. But just keep in mind, it's never a commercial. I didn't go into that interview trying to write something about me. It's not an advertisement. I didn't try to sneak my .com in there or anything like that. Maybe my bio goes up, maybe it doesn't. I didn't try to pitch them, on my, how my business, relates to the internet. But I did have a strong opinion, and I did have facts, that backed it up. So going after the news angles are huge. Once you're really prepared with your press kits, media kits, pictures, bios, things like that, the most important thing you can do is really understand how to pitch the media. Our summers start in June, and that's when a lot of the kids get out of school around here. And I do a summer camp for entrepreneurs, for teen entrepreneurs. And it's a fun, just kind of a passion project of mine. But these kids, it's $3,000. They come in for 7 days, and a lot of them already have businesses. Matter of fact, they can't get into the camp if they don't already have some kind of business. And so it was May. It was right before the summer. And so I know that parents are thinking about summer camps. It's timely. It's newsworthy. People are writing articles on it. So we went back to Forbes again and a few other places, and we said, hey, we've got this summer camp, and look at this web page that we have, and look at these testimonials that we have, and look at what we've done. And we didn't have a lot, but we had something to show them. And they came back and said, this is great. And they did a whole article just on my summer camp for entrepreneurs. And again, is this really how I make most of my money? No, but I'm in Forbes, and if I can teach a kid how to have a successful business, don't you think I can teach an adult how to have a successful business? And so Again, think outside the box. Think about angles. Think about the way things position you as an expert. And they don't have to be exact. They don't have to be a perfect fit. Let's talk a little about journalists, producers, editors. You really got to understand their world, right? Zig Ziglar has a very famous expression that, in order to get to, what you want in life, you need to help enough other people get what they want in life. And I believe that. People often ask me, David, how do you become an icon in your industry? I mean, if you're in the advice business, how do you really do this? And my three most common answers are give, serve, share. Give, serve, share. Now you have to do it very strategically. Some people don't give, serve, and share strategically. They give too much away. They give stuff away too often. They give stuff very valuable away for too little. But in general, we give, we serve, and we share. Journalists, producers, editors, a lot of times they're being pitched. And here's something you can do. You can go to them and say, what story are you working on right now? Right? What's your deadline? And you'd be surprised how many times they'll say to you, well, I'm writing a story of this right now. And you can say, oh, great, I know somebody. Or hey, I just, I've got a real strong belief on that. I'd love to talk to you about it. But instead of, pitching them your agenda, see what they're doing sometimes. You'd be surprised, how that can start a conversation. And I've had people say, David, I've helped a couple people and a couple producers or journalists, but never came anything. Well, what do you mean? Didn't you start a relationship with them? Have you maintained that relationship? Have you nurtured that relationship? It should just be a matter of time before that, that helps you. So don't underestimate the value of a relationship and giving and serving and sharing to the journalists and producers. Now, the other thing you want to think about with them is, they have a boss too. All these guys have a boss. I don't care who you are, in the media. They have bosses and they got to get ratings. They need exposure to their articles. They need comments on their articles. They need feedback to their articles. They need traffic to their articles. Same thing for their videos. Same thing for their clips. They need that. Part of what we do when we're pitching media is we're telling them, hey, look, I'm going to send an email out about it. I've got a good Facebook following. I've got a great affiliate network. Whatever it is you can do. And when those things break, get people to go there. Get people to comment, even if it's just a few. Get the ball rolling. Share the story. Talk about the story. Promote it. Some of the best contacts I've ever made in the media is when they got a lot of comments. And to them, guys, a lot of comments can be 50 comments, 20 comments. They get 100 comments on something, they're thrilled. They are thrilled. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later, but comment on their things. If you like somebody's column, start following their column and comment on stuff that isn't even about you. Then you can approach them and say, hey, look, I read your column. You did a great story on such and such. I love how you did this. I love how you did that. I thought a great story for you would be this. This is in the news now, and I would love to talk to you about this. I'm an expert in this. And it's watch that relationship. But, it's that old expression, flattery will get you everywhere. Now, I'm not talking about false flattery, all right? You need to be genuine, need to be sincere. You really should do your homework, investigate, prepare. But come ready to talk about their achievements and their articles and what they have. And if you can do things for them, man, doors just swing wide open. Okay, just swing wide open. Now, after your story breaks, this is where I see a lot of people make a mistake. They'll get one little media hit here or there, and then it doesn't turn into really much else. Okay, you've got to get a copy of that story. If it's a video, get a link and copy it yourself. If it's a story, get the link, copy yourself, screen print it, right? Get it into your control. Share it, promote it, get others to share and promote it, but get it into your control. I don't know how many times things have happened great for friends or even loved ones or things like that, and they'll come to me and they'll say, hey, David, I was just on such and such last week, or I'll get new prospects that want to be clients of mine. They'll say, oh, I was on all kinds of stuff. I'll say, great, what were you on? I was on this, I was on that. I said, great, where do you have a link? No. Do you have a clipping? No. Well, where do you think it's at? It's like they don't know. They never got anything for it, and it doesn't exist anymore. So you've got to get it. That media is the gift that will keep on giving. Okay? I mean, I've been in tons of media. I mean, I've been in tons of media just in the last couple of weeks, but what am I talking to you about right now? I'm talking about a Forbes article I was in a year and a half ago. I'm talking about another Forbes article I was in, 4 or 5 months ago. Okay? Years from now, I can talk about those Forbes articles, I mentioned real briefly, being on the Today Show, in Sydney. I'll be able to talk about that for years. Okay, so it's the gift that keeps on giving, but you really got to get it, and you gotta control it as best as you can. Now, quick side note for you guys. This might be a great gift for you guys. If you've been in the media and you never got a copy of it, there's a really good chance that I can help you get a copy of it. There's actually a service that copies almost everything out there, and they'll charge you $200-300 or something like that, and they'll get it for you and they will give it to you. Okay, so if you want that, I'll give you a way to contact me later. It's not something I'm selling. I don't get a kickback on it. It's not a service where I'm an affiliate of. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm just letting you know this is just something I'm just going to do for you. If you've been in the media before, you want to get in the media again, you didn't capture what you had, there's a few services out there that they have ways of just capturing things and archiving things and ways to find things, and for a fee, they'll go and get that for you. And sometimes finding old stuff can help ignite new stuff, and that's why it's so important, that after a break you do all these things. Let me kind of expand a little bit more of the world of publicity, TV, news. I don't know if a lot of people really understand this. This is another infographic that I've created to hopefully make complex things simple. But this is kind of having a team for talent: actors, authors, musicians, speakers, experts. This kind of covers the whole gamut of the people that we serve and the people that really get media. So Publicists, they feature you in the media in a positive way, and they try to keep doing it so that you'll stay relevant. The more you stay in the media, the more relevant you stay, and the more powerfully you can answer the question, why you? A bad feature in the media or a almost unknown feature in the media yesterday is better than the best feature ever 10 years ago. Okay, so staying relevant is important, and staying positive in the media is important. Production companies, they're directors and cinematographers, they're producers. They're out there to create content. Okay, they are not your publicist. All right, they are not a network. People get confused with that. Then there's managers and coaches. Managers and coaches work with you week to week and sometimes day to day to support you with a focus on strategy and development. Okay, a publicist is not your coach. Now there are people that do both. I do both. With high-end clients. But if you hire someone to do publicity, it doesn't mean that they're going to have conversations with you day in and day out, week in and week out. Okay, they're going to go work on stories, and they should provide reports to you. Okay, a manager and a coach is not there to publicize you. Okay, they might run into somebody and say, hey, you should meet this guy I work with, but that's not really their job. Networks, those are the stations that are going to broadcast and feature your content. Agents and brokers, those are the ones that are going to really introduce you to the players, negotiate business relationship, and really make you money. Okay, agents and brokers are not there to get you in the media. Sometimes people will come to me and they'll say, I don't get in the media as much as I want to. My agent doesn't do that for me. I'm like, well, agents aren't supposed to do that. I said, really? I feel like that's what I hired them to do. No, agents are there, to get you a deal. An agent or a JV broker should get you on, a webinar like this. That's one of the things that Ken kind of does. He does so much, but one role could be as an agent or a JV broker. He goes out there and he gets me on stages. He makes deals for me. He gets me, in front of people that are my potential clients. All right, but it's entirely different from, say, a manager, a coach, or a publicist. So just a little diagram, just to kind of think about this. I work quite a bit in Hollywood, and we work in some of the big, cities, around the world. In the U.S., the big cities are L.A., New York, and Washington, D.C. Those are the three major media hubs. Okay, L.A. and New York, that's mostly the celebrities. Washington, D.C., what we say in America, that's just kind of Hollywood for ugly people. Did you know that we said that, Ken? That's Hollywood for ugly people.
That's become one of my favorite quotes.
That, but that's what we. What? What's that?
That's become one of my favorite quotes.
Yeah, yeah. No, it is. It's Hollywood for ugly people. But those are the three major media hubs. Now, every country has them. And so when you're pitching stories and you're doing things in the media, there's certain places that are going to be stronger and better than others. Okay, so you can kind of keep that in mind. It really just helps, put a place on this stuff. When we do PR and publicity for people, we break it up into three things. Regional PR, which is more on a local, multi-metropolitan area, and that's more for people that are trying to get clients to walk through their doors. Then we do national PR, representation PR, and media, and that's more for people where they can make money online, they can make money, through a lot of different ways. They don't have to be face to face. Someone doesn't have to walk into their office, and they really want the big national shows. And then we do worldwide media. Now, we don't do a lot of worldwide media, but there are times that people need that. And so, of course, the worldwide media, again, is, they want to have an international presence, and there's certain markets that'll do really well. So, what we've done lately for me is a little bit of worldwide media, where it's not just the U.S., but it's in Australia, maybe a few other places, and we get media. I mostly try to focus my efforts on the places that I know that I can best capitalize. So, think about that. When you're interviewing publicists and people, ask them these questions. What do you do? What do you not do? Do you have contacts in regions, national, worldwide? And then think about what you want. I kind of like to get people thinking about their team, the kind of potential they have, and and there's something kind of interesting that I talk about teams. A lot of time the team that got you to where you're at now is not the team that's necessarily going to get you to where you want to go. And you really want to ask yourself this question. Does your team really live up to your full potential? Does your current team live up to your full potential? And I wish I had more time to talk about that. Very, very interesting. But when you're building a marketing team, a support team, whether it's employees or contractors, maybe it's referring partners, you definitely want people that really make you look good. People should brag about working with you, and you should work with people that you can brag about. It's not uncommon, because of the books that I've written, the things I've accomplished, the media I've been in. I've gotten to a point where clients will literally say, well, David Fagan, do you know David Fagan? Well, that's my marketing guy. Well, that's my publicist. Well, that's my, and that's great. And it's the same thing too. I love, Harry Dent's been a client of mine. I've been able to get a lot of investing. He's a great economist. I've been able to get some investing advice from me, and I even find myself doing that, right? Even I'm, kind of boasting a little bit. Well, I got advice from Harry Dent, but people do that. Are you set up in a way? Are you positioned in a way? Have you created a level of exposure for yourself that people want you? They're coming to you. The leads are coming easier. The sales are coming easier. You can attract better clients. You can do more with less because they'll pay you what you're worth, right? Think about that. A lot of it starts with that team. And, the team typically has limitations. I haven't always been able to get the best people, but I always hired the best people I could with the money that I had. And people say, David, how do you kind of go zero to hero? And this is basically what it looks like. As a matter of fact, let's look at this one first here. So, first you're developing your talents, you're improving your skills, providing solutions. Hopefully you're earning money, you're earning credit, you're earning venture capital maybe. Hopefully you're saving some. Now that you're saving and earning more than what you owe, you should be able to make an investment in yourself. You should be able to invest in your business. So you kind of have these three stages: learning, earning, investing. Can you see that, Ken? Does that come up for your screen?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, good. So now let's go back to the other one. Now, did the other one come up, zero to hero, earn, invest?
Yep, that's working fine.
It's the same thing, and the only difference is, what kind of symbol is this one out here, Ken? I'm going to put you on the spot.
It's the infinity symbol.
Yeah, it's the infinity symbol, meaning that it just keeps going on forever. I don't care if you're Richard Branson. I don't care if you're Donald Trump. I don't care who you are. This is what you do on some level. You earn money, you earn credit, you earn venture capital. When you earn more than you owe, everything starts to flip over here. You save, you invest in yourself, you invest in your business, you do it strategically, and you'll earn more money, and you just go through the whole process again. Sometimes people invest in their business, but they don't invest in themselves. I don't know why it is, but I always will poll groups and audiences, and hands down, it's probably 70–80% of people would rather invest in their business than themselves. You know, which is kind of sad, but you know, it makes sense. I think I probably even fall into that category a little bit too. I think it's easier for us to see an ROI, right? We're all chasing the ROI, but you know, even though you might not be able to document it as well, it is there. So when you earn more than you owe, you invest it in yourself. You know, I've had times where, you know, just starting out, I didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't have a lot to invest. You know, I had to get my expenses as low as I could. I had to get some money. I had to get some credit. You know, I had to get maybe some venture capital. And when I had more than what I owed, then I could, okay, let's build that website. Okay, you know, let's write that book. All right, let's go out and, you know, let's have a booth at this event. You know, let's do these things, right? Let's go out. Let's pay to play. You know, let's get on the big stages. Let's do these things. Let's form some big joint ventures, right? But a lot of times there's these doors of opportunity. You got to pay the man at the door to kind of walk through it, and we all start somewhere. But the idea here is that we're able to kind of work up to this. Eventually, we should have great teams. You know, I've had interns. You know, I've had people that I found on Craigslist. You know, I've gotten to be good at training people. But as time has gone on, and as my team has sort of hit glass ceilings in various areas, or just ceilings altogether, you know, as I make more money, you know, I'm able to go out and to get, you know, a better team, to get better people. So this here is what Ken started off by saying, and I'll kind of start to wrap this up here. But this is kind of what Ken was talking about. Is there's a new book that I have coming out called Guerrilla Parenting. It's on how to raise an entrepreneur. Now, how many of you right now can still see value, and even though I'm talking about parenting, that I'm talking about how to raise an entrepreneur? Can you see value in that? You should all be able to see value in the fact that if I can teach a kid or a teenager to run a successful business, how much more likely is it then that I can teach an adult to run a business? You see the correlation there? It's important you see that. But as people went back to school, college, grade school, high school, you know, here in the States, that happens mostly in September. So in August, when it was newsworthy, when it was timely, I went out and I said the most controversial version of one of my beliefs. And one of my beliefs is I'm not a big advocate for college. I don't think it's for everyone. And even when college is for people, I really think you should customize your education. I think there's a lot of classes that aren't as important as other classes. Okay? I didn't finish high school. You know, I'm not proud of that, but I didn't finish high school. Later on, my employer paid for me to go to college, so I took a bunch of college classes, but I really focused on what could help me the most. And I never even graduated from college, or that particular college. Later on, I found out that Harvard University had classes that CEOs could take, and so I went out to Boston, and I went to the Harvard campus and the surrounding parts, and I took some classes there. I took a class on negotiation. I took another class on how to deal with difficult people in difficult situations, and I literally have certificates from Harvard. Okay, so I definitely believe in education, but I believe in customized education. I definitely believe in school, but you know, I think a lot of schools go too far or go wrong. So what the most controversial version of my belief is, I refuse to pay for my kids' college education. If they want to go, they need to do it. You know, and most kids don't belong in school. You know, and or for us to pay for them. So that was pretty controversial. So sure enough, I got on Fox and Friends in the morning, one of the biggest shows out here in the morning, on the biggest news network. Fox is the biggest news network out here by quite a bit. And so that was the title. They put up a picture of the book. Now this is interesting. They're showing a picture of my book, Guerrilla Parenting: How to Raise an Entrepreneur. I made this book cover a couple days, started it just a couple days before we did the press release. Once we got the press a couple days later, we finished the book cover. I gave it to them probably 2 or 3 hours before we went on the air, and they put it up. This book isn't even out yet. It'll come out in January. Just with pre-orders on Amazon, it's already a bestseller. I'm not even finished with the book yet, okay? But I got it all put together. I had everything I needed. We pitched the press in a timely, newsworthy way. I showed myself as an expert, someone who has 8 kids, someone who works with entrepreneurs, and I got on Fox and Friends News. That turned me on to being on the Neil Cavuto show, another show on the Fox network, father of 8, refusing to pay for children's college education. I was in the Washington Post. Father of 8 explains why he hasn't saved a penny for his kid's college education. I got to be demonized pretty quick. I think Ken, I'm the former CEO of Guerrilla Marketing. I'm the icon builder, but I have a new moniker as the meanest dad in the world, by the way. So
I think you're battling it out with Darth Vader there for worst guy in the world.
yeah, exactly. I'd never thought of that before. I should put up a. That's a great image. That's a great idea. I'm going to do that. I'm going to have a picture of Darth Vader and then me right next to him. But here's another example of just capturing these things. These are screen prints, right? Here's a screen print. Yahoo parenting. Father of 8 won't save money for college. This is the big UK outlet. They just grabbed pictures. This is just a picture right out of my press kit, guys. I didn't have to stop for anything. I didn't have to find anything. People were just calling me up saying, we're going to do an article on you. We heard about it first and such. And I just say, it's all on my media kit. Go to davidtfagan.com, under media kit, under about me. It's all there. And they're just pulling pictures. They're pulling pictures. They're pulling video. They're pulling bios. If you could see the scroll down, there were more pictures. There were more videos. And away they went. Here's another show on Fox that's called The Five, where 5 people all sit around and discuss a topic. I didn't even go on this particular one. It was a 6.5-minute long segment, and it was all about me, my beliefs, my family, and whether or not they agreed with my controversial version of what I thought was right. And they're talking about it. I'm not even there. They're showing pictures, all the things they pulled offline. Okay, so this is something that I hadn't done before. I hadn't put together before. I've never written a parenting book before. I don't have parenting connections. Obviously I am an expert in certain things. Obviously I was prepared. Obviously I know what I'm doing. Obviously I have the contacts. Obviously I know how to pitch the media. Okay, but this isn't something that was like a slam dunk, right? It went viral. Here's a picture they pulled out of me and my wife. Should parents pay for their kids' colleges? I started searching Fox's Facebook because we got a lot of likes on Facebook when this went, and we had a lot of them. And the closest thing that I could find to it was Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt made a statement about owning guns and his family feeling safe, and that got 92,000 shares on Facebook. And that was the biggest one I could find going back a long, long ways. And well, within 24 hours, our post on Facebook on Fox's fan page got over 95,000 likes. 95,000 likes, 22,000 comments, like another 10, 15,000 shares. I mean, it was crazy. And Ken, me and Brad Pitt, we like to compete. Who has more kids? I do. I win. Who makes more money? It's close, Ken. It's close. Who has the more beautiful wife? Me and Brad, we like to compete. I'm being silly here, of course, Ken. But these are the things that really stand out. Here's a great example of most read. Now, this is something that happens on a site throughout a day when you get in the media. It'll show you what's being read most. So by the end of the day, my article was what was being most read. Now, this changes all the time. So I had to screen print this. If I didn't screen print this, this would never be there ever again. So by knowing that and screen printing this, I can show this to you and say, hey, on the Washington Post, I was the most read. Here it is. I was the most read one day. That could go in a bio, right? That could go into how somebody introduces me. That could go into a pitch. Somebody says, hey, here's the top 3 papers I want to be in. I can say, oh, you want to be in the Washington Post? I've been in the Washington Post a couple times. Matter of fact, one day I was the most read story. Let me show you the image. I'm not bragging about it, okay? I'm getting other people to talk about me. I'm getting other people to talk about my clients, right? It's social proof. It's third-party, independent social proof that is celebrating people for their knowledge and their expertise and their authority about something. So I hope that's kind of hammering home and you're seeing how we're doing that. But controversy converts, and so I want to echo that thought again. What is the most controversial versions of your beliefs? When I help people write their books, I will literally help them specifically word certain phrases in their book, certain sentences, certain paragraphs, knowing in advance that we're going to use those in going after the press right? We front load those books knowing that, oh man, this is something really controversial, and we're going to put it in your book specifically just so we can go tell the Today Show, just so we can go tell Oprah, just so we can go out and tell, you know, the nightly news. We're going to put this in here, and we're going to put this in here, okay? Now, I'm not saying make things up. I mean, they need to be things you believe, but what is the most controversial, best written way to say those things? You know, this is copywriting, folks. This is emotional triggers. These are words that evoke feelings, the correct feelings intended. But it's huge. You know, here we are on the Today Show in the U.S. Matt Lauer, pretty big show here. They did it as the anti-tuition mission. Father refuses to pay for kids' college. Me and Darth Vader right here. But by me saying this, and I think there's a lot of people that agree with me. Now, there's a bunch of people that don't agree with me too, and that's what makes it good. That's what the producers and journalists want. They want a large group that agree and a large group that don't agree. If everyone agrees with you, well, then it's not really newsworthy. If everybody hates you, right, it's probably not that helpful to you. Okay, so you want a good amount of people that want both. And so this was another way to say it, the anti-tuition mission, and this got us a lot of press too. And we later did the Today Show in Sydney too. But this is kind of interesting to me. We're coming to the end here. I know we went a little bit over because we got started a little bit late. But honestly, you could walk on water, and the haters would just say it's because you can't swim. And hopefully you're smiling a little bit right now. But it's true. You know, you want to do your part. You want to show your excellence. You want to get the social proof. It's funny, you know, I was a former CEO of Guerrilla Marketing with Jay Levinson, my mentor. They say, well, David, you just accomplished that because, you know, you were the CEO of Guerrilla Marketing, so you kind of rode his coattails. Well, yeah, that's true. That was the plan. And then later on, it was, well, you know, David, you really only have that because, you did pretty well with some books. Well, you know, you only got that because of this. And, it's just like, okay, now we're going to do it this way. Now we're going to go out and do this parenting book. And now I have people saying, well, you know, it's because you have 8 kids. You know, if I had 8 kids, you know, there's always something. So just know that no matter what you do, you know, you can walk on water, and the haters, some people are still just going to say it's just because you can't swim. But I took that challenge, and we went into Australia, and Ken and Karen said, hey, wouldn't it be great if we got some press here? Wouldn't it be great if we got some media here? So we sat down with Justine, you know, a publicist that they've worked with before, who's a great publicist and had some great contacts. And I said, Justine, I'm prepared. Okay, I'm prepared. I have everything you need. I've got the pitches, I've got the pictures, I've got the videos, I've got the site, I've got everything. And I just turned it over to her. The next morning, she pitched the media, and within 2 hours, she got us on the Today Show in Sydney. And before I flew out of there last week, oh my God, this week. Wow, was it just this week, Ken?
It was just this week that you flew out. Yeah, on Tuesday.
Yeah,
Tuesday night.
Holy cow! So it was only 3 days ago that I was there. So I was on. This is just kind of a picture of the screen here. I wrote it from the clip. But tough love, controversial parenting, tips for raising successful kids. And I've got some of these pictures here. You know, make your kids, you know, rich, and a picture of my family and all laughing, and things like that. And so this is good. This is good stuff. I mean, you want these kinds of things. And so, we've even done it in Sydney and Australia. And why is that important? Because you want it to relate to people. What do your clients respect? What does your audience appreciate? I know that it was just as important for me to do this in Australia if I wanted to do business in Australia. So this was great. So why most publicists fail? And we only have 2 slides left here, but I'll go quick on this. They don't have the contacts. They don't know the jargon. They don't know the audience. They don't have time for research. They're just not prepared. If your publicist is too busy, that's going to be a problem. If your publicist can't have an intelligent conversation about your topic, you got to switch. I have multiple publicists. There was a time where I put this really amazing yoga guy with one of our publicists. And he wasn't a very healthy guy. He didn't really know anything about yoga. He didn't understand the feeling, the spirituality, the emotional triggers, and it just wasn't going anywhere. And everybody was a little discouraged. And I just reevaluated the situation, switched him to a different publicist, came up with some new strategies. She understood that culture. About a week later, in the media. Okay, it really can sometimes be that easy. So when you're interviewing, publicists, find out, what are their contacts. There's actually software out there that the industry professionals pay for and use, and has basically everyone's contact information in the world, and it's constantly updated. It's not cheap. It can be pretty expensive, but it's a good way to kind of weed out sort of the fakers, or the people that maybe aren't there in it as much. So find out, where do you get your contacts? Be concerned if they say, oh, I just have some personal contacts. I have some great connections. I used to be in this or I used to be in that. Yeah, maybe so, but this software of everybody's information in the world, I mean, it just can't be beat. You should have some kind of software that gives you access to all those things. So quiz them about the jargon. Find out if they have the time to research. Make sure that they're prepared. Why people fail at their PR. They don't have professional, sophisticated online presence. People go to Google them, nothing's there. They don't have good bios. They don't have good pictures or videos. They don't have the right angles. They don't have the right contacts. They don't know how to talk in sound bites. This is something else that we train people for, is really how you talk in sound bites. If you go and you look at any of my interviews, you'll be able to very clearly hear me say very specific sound bites. Like one thing is, I find the opportunity to say this one line. Most of the time people don't find what they're capable of until they have to find what they're capable of. That's a very specific soundbite. I have several of sound bites about whatever it is I want to talk about, and they're meant to be powerful and to have an impact. If we had more time, I'd give you more examples, but I think you get the idea. But these things, this is about being prepared. Most people think it's just, did I pick to win or did I pick to fail? But what successful people know is it's kind of fail, fail, win. What really, really successful people know is you learn from each failure, and you're hitting wins all the time. And that's really what I've done, in my business and in my industry. Is yes, I've sought out experts. Yes, I hire mentors. Yes, I go out and get the best software. Yes, I do the best I can with the money I have to work with. Whenever I have more than I owe, I'm reinvesting in myself and in my business. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm doing the things that it takes to be successful. So, Ken, I know you had some people that had questions throughout this. I don't know if we have time to do that. I don't know if you want to. I guess I'll be here at the stopping point, and you tell me what you think we should do next year.
Cool. All right. Well, why don't we just say now, if you've got a question for David, now's the time to ask it. Just put it in the chat box, and while we're collecting a few questions there and seeing what comes in. Should we talk about your opportunities to work with you? Is it appropriate to cover that?
Yeah, let's do that. Here's the best thing to do. There are times when people are selling a product or a service, and sometimes it can be one size fits all. Sometimes it can't. What I've discovered in press and PR is that some people they're just really not ready. And it's hard to tell if you're ready. So, I can't just sell press and PR to everyone. There are no guarantees in it. So what I do is I will typically interview them. Me or someone on my team will interview them and they'll ask some questions. The best way to find out if you are worthy of press, if you are worthy of being in the media, if you're close to that, is to schedule a time to talk with us. The best way to do that is to fill out an application. And Ken, I gave you one of those applications, so you can share that at any time. There's a very simple application. You can fill it out online. Give us some information about yourself, and I will explain to you a couple different options. We have options where we just coach you, right? Do-it-yourself PR. We just show you how to be your own publicist. We can give you access to some contacts. We can kind of coach you on some of your pitches, point you in the right direction. There's some great things we can do that can be very effective in you being your own publicist. And those things can run hundreds of dollars a month. We also have programs that run thousands of dollars a month where we are your publicists. We promote you. We represent you. We do very specifically what we call representation in PR, where we will work to book you as a speaker. We will work to feature you in the media. We will work to get you on webinars. We will work to get you, the kind of visibility that you want to get, that will get you more leads and help you close more sales. So that process all begins with an application. So just know that, for do-it-yourself PR, you're going to be in the hundreds of dollars a month range. For done for you PR, where we are representing you and doing PR for you, you're going to be thousands of dollars a month. And so, Ken, some people they aren't ready for that. They haven't made enough. They don't have more than what they owe enough to make that kind of investment. Now, whether it's me or another publicist, you really need to commit to 90 days. Okay? Sometimes people go out, they'll spend a good chunk of money, and they'll try publicity for 90 days. It doesn't really work that way. You got to remember, a lot of media out there, they're planning a month ahead. They're planning for the next issue. Today I was in Hollywood. I was on the Paramount Studio lot, and I was filming for a TV show called The Doctors. It's a really big show here in the States. And I had to do videos, and I had to do interviews. And then today we actually went and we filmed the show. I had a 7-8 minute segment, and we filmed the show. That show probably won't air until sometime in December. Okay, so it takes a while to do these things, to have these calls, to get momentum. A producer, a journalist, they need to see something about you. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. A little while goes by, they see something else about you. That looks good. Maybe another couple weeks go by, they see something else about you. They need to be seen. Oh, maybe I need to search this person. Maybe I need to Google this person. It can take a little while. Once you start getting into it, you can get some momentum and you can turn it into some things. It is possible to get media right out of the gate. I know people that do publicity by themselves. I know people where the media has just contacted them. I would say that those are exceptions to the rules. They're not really the rules. But Ken, that application would be the best way for them to talk to me or somebody on my team about what their options are for PR and press. And we're pretty busy. I make a lot of my money by showing people wins, by showing people results, showing them what I've done, showing them what other people have done. So it's not in my best interest to go taking a lot of people's money that I don't think is really newsworthy or ready. Here's one way to know if you're newsworthy or ready. Have you already had documented success? Okay, documented success. So in other words, if you're starting out brand new in a brand new company or a brand new organization, a brand new title, a brand new industry, and you don't have a lot to talk about or point to, it can be hard. Now, it doesn't mean that you're out of the running. It just means that it can be hard. Okay, so now I went into an entirely new industry and field, kind of parenting, did some stuff, but I still had enough social proof in my other lives, if you will, as an entrepreneur, that it helps. So you might have other things going on in your life, that can really help you. There are a lot of things that can convert, but if you've been living in a cave, if you've just never, you've never really accomplished anything, if you're getting a lot of compliments, if you're getting a lot of testimonials, if you're getting celebrated a lot, if you're speaking at events, if you're winning awards, the chances are you're ready for PR, you're ready for press. You're ready to be seen as an expert witness in the media, and that can be huge. That makes sense, right? Doesn't it, Ken?
Yeah, it does. And so that's great. So I might just mention at this point, I've put the link to that inquiry form into the chat box. You'll see it up the top there. It is iconignition.com.au/PR. So if you go there, there's a form to fill in that goes to David and his team. David's asking a few things about you and your background and where you're up to, just so he can get a feel for how media ready you are and what he can do. And from there, you'll have a conversation, and David will give it to you straight. He'll say, yeah, this would be good for you. You should think about that instead, or whatever the answer is. He'll guide you on the right track, and you can make some decisions from there. So we're getting a few questions. David, are you up to taking a few questions about this now?
Yeah, I'll go as long as they want. Go ahead.
Okay, fantastic. So Pix is asking, how do you determine your authority or expert status? I think you just sort of just touched on that with the last point, didn't you?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's when you're getting a lot of social proof. It's other people celebrating you, saying you're great, giving you awards, giving you testimonials, giving you endorsements, people saying, hey, will you come speak to my group? Happy clients, things where, if you're helping somebody lose weight and get fit, and you have a before and after picture, they lost 50 pounds, you got a before and after picture, that's great. If you're fixing up real estate, if you got a picture of the house when you bought it and the house when you sold it, and you can say, I bought it for this much and I sold it for this much, and what, that's great. Visual aids of how you can transform things. All those things are great.
Okay. All right. Now this is a good question, which I think is worth diving into a little bit. Could you please explain how publicity brings financial gains? In other words, can you give some specific examples or events? So we've kind of touched on this, but maybe it's worth developing a little more. Do you want to maybe talk through some of your clients
Sure.
and how they've leveraged
Sure.
appearance in the media into hard results?
So we represented a nonprofit company called Bent Star, B-E-N-T, Bent Star. And what they did is they developed a science and technology where they can go overseas and underwater, and they can reclaim the remains of POWs and MIAs, people missing in action or prisoners of war. And they can bring those people home to be laid to rest. It was really cool. So we got them in the media, got them on an Anderson Cooper, and some people saw that, and they came to them and they just wanted to be a part of it. They thought it was really great. And so they raised millions of dollars from one particular person and organization to do a documentary about their process. And it was all because they were seen in the media. My book is pretty much already a bestseller on Amazon. Hasn't even come out yet. Not easy to do, but it can be done. I don't really care about the bestseller, quite honestly. What I care about is the exposure in the media, because I might get paid speaking gigs. Clients will see it. They'll ask me how I did it. Things like that. So a lot of times it's indirect. But PR is one of those things where you really can't do really a direct ROI all the time. And so what I tell people is I say to them is I really just ask them a question. How valuable to you, or how valuable would it be to you to be featured in Forbes or the Washington Journal, or maybe it's more relevant for Australia to say how valuable would it be for you to be on the Today Show? And that's not a loaded question. I don't have an answer for that. I mean, I'm genuinely asking you how valuable would it be. I have people that would pay $100,000, to be on a Today Show. I have people that do pay money to be on something like Larry King. I have people that would pay $500,000 to be on Oprah. So I know that there's a real value to there, but it really has to be up to you. I don't ever try to sell anybody on the value. When I was in Forbes, did that make me any money directly? I don't think so. Did I, when I was talking to potential clients and explaining why they should hire me over somebody else, was I able to leverage that? Sure. Was that the number one thing of why they went with me and not someone else? I don't know. Probably not. But that's the question you've got to ask. If you look at PR and if you look at media and you say, I don't know if it'd really make me any money, don't do it. Honestly, don't do it. I would not spend the money on it. I would say most press, it's really hard to show a direct ROI. And a lot of the examples I gave to you, I would say that they are less likely to be the result than they are to be the result of doing it. So, you have to really decide for you with your business, how many leads you'll probably get, how many things you might close. Me personally, I don't get a lot of leads from media. I might sell a bunch of books, but in general, I don't get a lot of leads. I might get organizations that might call me up to have me speak, and when I go speak someplace, then I might make money at the place I speak at. But I don't really have someone that says, hey, I saw you on the news. I know you do, private coaching and consulting. I want to hire you. It's never happened to me before, Ken. Maybe it has, and I just can't remember, but I don't think it's ever happened to me before.
Well, let's talk about a marketing path that I've seen people in our industry use, and I'm sure use it as well, which is somebody who's in the advice industry, who's building a profile as an expert, writes a book, and the book explains how to do something that's in their field. They go in the media, they promote the book, it becomes a bestseller, lots of people read it. Inside the book, there's a page that says, well, if you'd like this extra resource or this extra piece of information on how to do something or other, go to my website and enter your details here to opt in. Then bang, that person's in their marketing funnel, and they've come into the front of their marketing funnel, but they've come in already recognizing them as an expert and knowing something about what they do and their background and everything through virtue of the book and the publicity around the book. So then they're on their website, they opt in, and then the actual marketing sequence starts, and it ends up with them saying, well, now that you've looked at all these things that I can do, why don't you hire me, or why don't you buy my product?
Yeah.
So you do that yourself, David. So
that's a lot of good insight that you have, and I agree with every word you said, and that's what I would call indirect results. Direct results are hard, and I'm just trying to explain that. I think that's a great way to show people the positives, but what I want people to get out of this is I'm playing it safe. I'm not going to oversell this. Either people get it or they don't, and maybe that's kind of a big difference between me and maybe some of the other speakers out there or experts out there. You really have to understand what you're making an investment in. PR can be absolutely amazing, but if you're doing PR only because you're saying, all right, David, I'm going to invest $10,000 and I'm going to be in the media and I got to get a return on it, save your money. Save your money. If you need to see a direct result on it in a very short amount of time, you probably want to save your money. Now, if you say, David, I've got a book. Yeah, I've got a business where people pay me for coaching and consulting. I have a way to capture leads. I have a good website. I have a way to capture leads. I have a special offer that's in my book. I have a special offer that's on my website. I can get more people to my events. I'd love to have more discovery calls with people. Absolutely. Sign up. Do it now. Go all out. Get all in. Because this is one of the biggest ways to separate yourself from anybody else. Books are hugely powerful. Everybody knows I'm a fan of them. But it's easy to write a book. It's hard to get in the media. Right? Doing a website the right way, hugely popular. I think having a great website is more important than a book and more important than a media. But guess what? Anybody can create a website. Even a good website isn't that hard to create. But to get featured on a really big show, man, you level the playing field in a really fast way. You have a huge unfair advantage over everyone once you start getting into the media. I mean, it is a game changer.
Mm-hmm. All right. Cool. All right. Up for another question?
Sure.
So Elisa says, I'm in commercial debt collection. How would I go about making a rather unsavory subject newsworthy? And there's probably quite a few people who would think, well, my business is not glamorous or exciting. Why is the media going to be interested in me?
Well, that's part of the genius of what we do, is we find those angles. First of all, I think what she's doing is huge. How often does the news media talk about corporate debt, company debt, bankruptcies, people buying homes, people going into debt for college educations, kids that are living on their parents' couches? I think there are a ton of angles for that. Now, again, it's not going to be maybe specific to, hey, I'm a debt collector, and now people want to hire me to collect on their debts. Directly, but if somebody sees that person, if you could put those clips up on your site and stuff, hey, I'm recognized by this news station, I've been on here, I've been on there, it could be big. But I think there's tons of angles. Every time it's time to do your taxes, you should be in the media. Every time there's a celebrity that's going bankrupt, and it happens all the time. Every time there's a celebrity going bankrupt, you could pitch the media and say, I would love to tell you the collection process this celebrity is probably going through. Let me tell you what happens if this celebrity doesn't start to pay their debts. People eat that stuff up, and there's tons of angles. I could go on and on for that one. That's actually a pretty easy one. Does that answer the question, Ken? You're looking at it, I'm not. But does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think it does. And I've seen some interesting angles on things like that in the past as well. Tax and debt and even actively unpleasant businesses. You can always find an angle to make them interesting, right?
Yeah, here's another one. There's a ton of angles that you can do every time somebody famous dies. You know, someone famous dies, what happens to their estate? What are their bills? What are their debts? What do their kids get? The news, they want to talk about those people and kind of know. You know, here in the States, when Michael Jackson died, you know, one of my friends who's an estate planning attorney, you know, she got all over the media just talking about his estate and what he owed and what was it really worth and what was the kids inherit. And you know, I mean, she was just called on to every show, and they would say, well, you know, what's going to happen to his estate? And she's like, well, this could happen, that could happen. You know, I mean, there's a ton of angles there. Anything financial, debt worthy, you know, and I think another big one that we've actually have a history to deal with is just credit. Most people don't understand their credit. You know, someone like that could go on the news and media and say, here's the top 10 things that most people don't know about their credit that could change their lives. You know, I mean, create these lists of these things.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Okay, Elise has replied and said, that's the perfect answer, thank you. So fantastic. Here's another one from Arona asks, what do you do if you need support to get testimonials?
What do you need what?
Well, what do you do if you need support to get testimonials? So I take that to mean she's not been able to get testimonials herself, and she feels like she needs a little bit of help with that.
Okay. Okay. So there's a really quick process to get a lot of testimonials. The first thing you have to do is earn compliments. Okay. You got to give, serve, share. You got to earn compliments. You got to be good at what you do. If you are, people will compliment you. Second step. You got to become very in tune and very aware when people say, you know, thank you so much. You're really good at this. Or, hey, you know, I really enjoyed what you did for me. Or the service, the product, it was great, it was wonderful. As soon as you hear that, here comes step 3. You got to say something like this, and you can almost do it verbatim, word for word. Wow, thank you so much. That means the world to me. Is there any way I could capture that on video? It would really help me help other people. Wow, thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying that. Is there any way I could capture that on video? It would really help me help other people. Wow, that's great. Sincerely. No matter how many times people say stuff like that to me, I love hearing it. Is there any way I could capture that on video? It'd really help me help other people. So hopefully you're kind of starting to notice a pattern there. Next step is you got to get the video then and there. It's better if it's raw. It's better if it's documentary style. It can be anywhere, anytime. It'll be hard. People want to do it. They'll tell you they'll do it when they get home, but they won't. You've got to come trained. You've got to be ready. You've got to have a phone. You've got to have a camera. And you've got to shoot it right then and there. And here's what they're going to say. They're going to say, well, what should I say on there? Just tell me the compliment you just gave me. You just said I was really good at this. You just happily said that. That's it. I was just hoping to capture that on video. You know, and work really hard to get them to give you that compliment on video. There's a few little things about, you know, maybe how you hold the camera and what you do and what do you want, and some good phones that have good cameras, and we don't have time to go into all that. But I will give you another tip. No matter how good they do that first one, always say this. You know what? You nailed it. But I bet if we did it just one more time, you'd feel really good about it. It would just come really easy to you. Come on, let's just do it. Let's do it right now. And just do one more. And you'd be amazed, no matter how good that first one is, how great the second one will be. Just one more, that second shot. And just take 2 attempts, really. I mean, if they give you a chance to do more, do more. But 2 attempts is usually all it takes. But if you are giving, serving, and sharing, if you are earning compliments, if you are being in tune and aware to those compliments, and if you ask enough people, and if you become ready, and you become prepared, and you say that scripted answer, and you do that day in and day out, you're going to get more testimonials than you can handle. I have hundreds of testimonials. I probably have thousands now of endorsements between Facebook and things that I get on LinkedIn. And I mean, I started even numbering my testimonials on YouTube, which is a cool little thing to do once you start getting a lot. Because they might pull up one, and it might be testimonial number 47, testimonial number 114, testimonial number 411, you know, whatever. You can number them, and that also looks kind of powerful.
Yeah. And, you know, people like to be self-consistent, don't they? That's one of the first things I read from I learned from Robert Cialdini's book when I read that. So if someone's just finished raving to you and saying, "Oh, this is fantastic, it really helped me," and then you say, "Great, you know, would you mind saying that to me on camera? You know, it'll really help me." That's, you know, they're going to be reluctant to pull out at that point because you know, they're not going to want to contradict themselves. They just finished saying how great you are. So that eliminates most of the possible excuses for them not doing that, because obviously why would they not say that to somebody else if they've just said it to you? So yeah, getting it on the spot, I can see that's very powerful.
Yeah, and you're not going to get every one, but it's a numbers game like everything else, and you'll get some. The people around me, my friends and clients, they're scared to give me compliments now, Ken. They really think twice before they give me a compliment now. They're going to have a camera in their face. But no, seriously, you got to do that, and you'll get enough of them.
And anyone who's been married for a while knows that if your wife ever says, "Yes, well, you're right, I was wrong," that's you've got to record that puppy right there. You'll need that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So Sam has asked to do your own PR. How long would be necessary to spend on it per week to get some sort of media success?
Oh, that's a great question. A lot of it is just kind of setting things up. Writing the bio, whatever. That's one of the things we kind of coach people on. They write the bios, we give them ideas. We'll give them ideas on angles. We'll give them ideas on pitches. Then they go out and just pitch the media. If we're doing it for them, then we might have one or two different people spending time on it. But I understand the question to be, if they're doing it themselves, how much time? So if they're doing it themselves and they already have everything done, you're going to probably want to spend probably anywhere from 3 to 10 hours a week. And most of that, honestly, is just really paying attention to what's going on in the world. And, at least once or twice a week, seeing something that's going on, a news story that's developing, something that's breaking, something that's trending, and just scripting a pitch and just sending that pitch to the media. Every once in a while, you might spend some time finding contacts or putting together media lists. Some of the time, you might be updating your pictures, or your videos, or your bio. But mostly, once that's done, it's just understanding the news, understanding what's trending, writing good copy, and just pitching the media over and over again. And if you do that, you should see something within a couple months. Within 2 or 3 months, you should see something. Now, I've gone months without any press. I think I've gone 5 or 6 months where we just haven't had time to pitch it a lot, or we just didn't see a lot of angles, or we were busy with other things. And then all of a sudden, we'll just get a ton of media. We'll try something. We'll just kind of strike gold, And sometimes that theme will continue on for a long time. Sometimes it'll die out in a week, So it really depends. But the more time you put into it, the more likely you are to have it work. But I would say 3 to 10 hours, a week, especially in the beginning. But it'll get easier and easier and easier, because pretty soon you've got everything you need. So it's really just, how long does it take you to come up with a good idea? I mean, I'll literally be sitting in a cab and just see the news on the back of the seat and go, oh, man, they should be interviewing me, or oh, they should be interviewing one of my clients. I have the perfect person for this, Anytime I see something break, I'm thinking about the angles. So if you're not good with angles, it could be tougher and it could take a lot longer. But if you see how your background expertise can kind of fit in a roundabout sort of way, then it shouldn't take too long.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. Fantastic. I'll just mention again at this point, if you're interested in talking to David and his team about doing some PR, just go to that form and send your details through. The form is iconignition.com.au/PR, and you could click the link that's in the chat box up the top.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, David.
And don't be afraid to sell yourself, in that too. I mean, it's good to have the people you're working with excited about your projects. So as you're filling out that application, I mean, sell yourself. I mean, why you? What are you doing? What what have you already gotten? Why do you think you need to be on the press? I have people that believe in their heart of hearts that they belong on Oprah, but yet they can't really say why. Mm-hmm. So put a little bit of thought into it, and that'll really help us. It's kind of a garbage in, garbage out kind of thing. So the better and more quality information you give us, the more specific we can be.
Cool. Okay, we got just a couple more questions. I think we're getting down towards the end here.
Okay.
Michael's asking a strategy question. He said he's trying to get a story in a big international blog, which is by the sound of it is in the tech industry. He said, would you start via a press release to them, or would you try and get some local media first to build your credibility and then go to the big international site?
Okay. Yeah, this is, as you know, Ken, sometimes we do hours and hours on this kind of stuff, or even a whole day on these kinds of topics. So one thing we didn't talk a lot about was press releases. So I would say press releases are the biggest waste of time, or are the most overrated thing that is done in the publicity world. There are press releases everywhere. Everyone can do a press release. It's very rare that the press release is picked up. The better it's written, the better it's scripted, the more controversial it is, the more likely it will be. But press releases, I see people go out and spend, the best press releases are the kind where you spend money on them because it'll go more specifically to the right places if you do it the correct way. But that same amount of money that someone might spend for a good press release, you would be better off going directly to who you want. Now, trade magazines can be really powerful. A lot of people, that's really what they want, more than just the generic media, because that's where their clients are. Almost every industry has some great trade magazines, so it's great that he's thinking that way right off the bat. I mean, that's perfect. The more specific you can be like that, the better. So, should he try to get local? Should he try to get that? Honestly, he should try it all. He should try it every day. Somehow, some way, the front door, the back door, the window, the chimney, whatever way you can get in, just try to get in. There really isn't a rule of thumb that says one way is better than another. If you get smaller media, it can lead to bigger media. If you get big media, you're going to get the small media. So, it's all fairly connected. Which is easier to get? Just depends on really the pitch and the news story. I have found it easier for me to get national media attention than it is sometimes for me to get local media attention. I have found sometimes it easier to me to get bigger shows than it is for me sometimes to get the trade magazine, because sometimes there's a lot of politics in the trade magazines. People are paying, people are doing favors. There's a lot of internal politics, office politics, industry politics. And so it can be really disheartening. You're doing all these things and you're not getting anywhere, and then you start to think, oh, well, my message isn't good, or I'm not good, or the angle isn't good. When really it's just there's a lot of things that can be outside of your control. Because a lot of the trade stuff, they don't care about ratings. They care more about subscribers and sponsorships and advertiser dollars and things like that. And you would think that those things are hand in hand, but they're not always. So I know that's kind of a long answer, but I hope you can see why I gave you the long answer, because there's some great information in there. But do it all, try it all, and one isn't necessarily better than the other.
Yeah, I can imagine if your controversial opinion that you're basing your profile on is, such and such a popular product, or popular type of category of product doesn't really work and you shouldn't waste money on it, then if they're a big advertiser in a trade magazine, that's unlikely they're going to run that story.
Well, let me give you another tip too, and this is pure gold. One of the mistakes that people make is they go after a show and they don't understand what the show is even about. So first of all, understand what your show is really about. Next, don't just go after the show. Even better than the show, go after the host, or go after the person that writes the article. Now, there are people that write columns that are very specific. Nobody's writing a column that's different, a different industry every week. There's financial columns, there's real estate columns, there's parenting columns, there's advice columns, there's car column. There's just all these columns. So one of the things that I hear from journalists that they hate the most is all the spam that they get, and it's none of it's useful, right? I'll give you a quick example you'll find interesting. There's a magazine called Maxim magazine, and it's kind of edgy. It's a little risque. It's definitely not Playboy or anything, but it's a little out there. Have you ever heard of the magazine before, Ken? Maxim?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I tricked you into that. So, you know what the magazine is now.
I've only seen it on the shelf in the newsagent. I've never read it.
In that magazine, there's an article that they do every month, and it's a how-to article. It's how to do something. Well, their magazine is geared mostly towards men, 21 to 35, 25 to 40, and it's a men's magazine. There's a guy that writes an article on how to. Well, we had a stunt driver who was in the movie The Fast and the Furious 6. And so we pitched them on how to roll a car. How to roll a car. This is how you roll a car on purpose, right? Mm-hmm. And they loved it. That worked because we understood the column, we understood the writer, we understood the magazine. I probably couldn't have gone to too many other media outlets and said, hey, I've got a guy that will teach you how to roll a car. Now, once we knew that and we had that contact, I had another woman who was in a movie called Zero Dark 30, who was a stunt person. And I said, you know what, we did this how-to thing. Why don't we do some kind of how-to? And I said, what would be cool? What would be kind of controversial, fun, or outrageous? She says, well, there's a real art to falling down stairs, like huge flights of stairs. So we did an article on how to fall down a flight of stairs. Again, that happened because we own that. Now, again, this might seem like a stretch or we're getting off topic, but we're not. This guy's talking about a very specific magazine or a very specific trade publication or newspaper. Find columns in there. Go after writers in there. Focus on what they focus on. Focus on what their area of experience is on.
Yeah, some people have got a particular hobby horse too that they always go on about. It's an issue that they or a cause that they always support. So if you can back that up in some way, that would improve your chances, I imagine.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Fantastic. We've had a couple of people asking about the service for finding their old media coverage, including, does it work internationally? One person asked if they've got media overseas. It's not in Australia or the US, but is there coverage international?
Yeah, it is national. What we do can be done anywhere. I mean, a big part of what we do is understanding the news and the angles. Mm-hmm. And so just like I gave you a bunch of examples for these people, we can do that for anybody. Another type of thing that you want is somebody who has the contacts. We subscribe to software called Cision, C-I-S-I-O-N. You can look it up. It can be pretty expensive. But that software is industry standard PR software that is global. So it allows me to search for magazines, newspapers, shows, by industry, by topics, by keywords. It gives me access to producers, directors, all these kinds of things. So we have the contacts that these people might need. Now, you can't, when we help people with this, you can't say, I want 100 of the top whatever people. We don't do that. But we do help you get very laser-like and say, look, who do you want to focus on? Hey, I want to focus on this publication. This month, we'll give you a couple names. Who do you want? I want the producer to this show. Got it. I'll give you that number. When I give you that number, it's yours forever. So we set up the do-it-yourself PR by how much time we spend with you and by how many contacts we give you. The more time we spend and the more contacts we give you, the more money it is, and it's in the hundreds of dollars range. But once you have that knowledge and once you have that contact, guess what? You have it forever, unless it changes. Sometimes people get fired. Sometimes people quit. Sometimes people move from station to station, magazine to magazine. But for as long as they're there, that information is good, and that's part of the service that we provide for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Fantastic. Got one type of question left that's fairly specific, but I'll run this past you and see if you think you can help. For services that work better in private one-on-one sessions, such as counselling, and I would imagine that would also include medical, what type of PR strategies would you recommend? Do you do anything different in that type of scenario, or are you still, even if you work one-on-one, are you still in the advice industry?
No, it's still the same. It's still the same thing, and we've represented psychologists before and things like that. Basically, people always care what's happening to famous people. Again, wish it wasn't true, but it is. So, famous people they have all the same problems that we have. Sometimes they have more problems. So anytime some famous person is having a problem, like the problem that you treat, you want to get involved in that conversation. It's not hard to find angles for that. Pharmaceuticals is a huge thing. Every time someone's coming out about a pharmaceutical or something else that's treating rather than curing, or solving, anytime that happens, you can get involved in those conversations. So again, what's in the news? What's going on with the big companies? Where's the money being spent? What are the famous people doing? What are their promises or problems? And you can tie yourself to those angles and those stories.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, fantastic. Thanks, David. I think we're through the questions now. Things have slowed down. There's a lot of interest, though. Almost everyone is still on the webinar, so we've only lost a handful of people, even though we've gone well over time. Obviously, people have been interested in the questions and they've hung around. So, yes, so thanks very much for taking some time and particularly going over time to answer everyone's questions. I know they've all appreciated it. Just again, if you're interested in working with David in some capacity to build your media profile, that form is at iconignition.com.au/PR. If you have any trouble getting on board, as usual, drop us an email, info@universalstars.com.au, and we'll be only too happy to help out. All right, thanks, David. Have a good evening.
Yes, you too. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone, for talk to you later. Bye.